Buenas tardes de la costa oaxaqueña. Yo soy Alex Espinoza. Y bienvenido al próximo Ricky Report. We're going Spanish. We're going bilingual, baby. I'm recording this from a little beachside hut. $10 a night beachside hut in Mexico till I move into my spot next week. It's still sell the team. Probably gonna sweat this whole time and get destroyed by mosquitoes, but I had to turn off the fan, but I do it for you guys because you're the ghosts, the greatest of all fans. But anyways, make sure to use the code RickyBlog at lastdivebar.com. Get 10% off your next order. And all right, let's do it. I haven't done one of these in a few weeks. There's been a lot of news going on, but let's get to it. Okay. So early Wednesday morning, A's owner John Fisher was spotted in Las Vegas to see the implosion of the Tropicana. It happened about 2:30 in the morning, and the building was there forever. A classic Rat Pack casino from the 50s, and then, but Fisher was there along with Bally CEO Soo Kim, Las Vegas Stadium Authority Chairman Steve Hill, and some other people were there. But yeah, they were all there as the implosion was paid off by landlord GLPI.
Hey, it is really a pleasure to be here. This has been a long time in coming. We really started working on our stadium effort, 18 years ago. So to be here today in front of the pyramid, which took over 18 years to build as well, the Great Pyramids.
While they really want to give us, the assurances and the imagery that the A's are for sure coming here, for sure coming to Vegas, it's worth remembering that the idea of this implosion was kind of getting kicked around before the A's were even in the picture. So it was almost like this time for this place was coming down, So at least one fan, before the towers went down, got a picture with a cell flag in front of it. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty great. But so yeah, Fisher spoke for about 4 minutes before the implosion on a dimly lit stage, and it was basically just amounted to a lot of pandering, to local officials, the governor, even the Henderson Little League team. Even got a Bryce Harper shout out in there since he's from Vegas.
You turn on the TV and you watch the playoffs. They are little kids out there. Bryce Harper, one of the greatest players to come out of Las Vegas. He is so competitive, and he just wants to do nothing more than win out there.
But of course, no mention of his current players. And then we also learned that Mark Kotze and Ricky Henderson were in attendance. And speaking of other A's classics that were in attendance, Stomper was there, but he looks like he's already been washed up and he's been there for 57 years instead of just 2 weeks or whatever. So, oh, poor Stomper. But yeah, here's a little clip of Fisher talking on Wednesday.
Whether it's the Little League team or our AAA affiliates or our own team, Mark Kotze here is our manager of our team. Ricky Henderson, one of the greatest, maybe the greatest athletic of all time, is here today. I want to thank the commissioner, and especially I want to thank Soo Kim and Bally's, Peter Carlino, and GLPI. If it wasn't for these guys, we absolutely would not be here. And to honor Soo, it's going to be great for TV because if you're right, I want to present him with the #1 athletics jersey.
And then, as Mick Akers of the Las Vegas Review-Journal reported afterwards, Fisher said he was proud to see the A's logo flying over the Trop during the drone show. Various times he was super stoked about it. So, eventually, so they had a big drone show for this thing, and then eventually the drone show stopped and they had an implosion. And here's some video from Mick Akers of the Review-Journal. one point during the show, of course, we saw the drone logo of the A's, but there was also this Las Vegas A's logo that was projected onto one of the towers. But this was actually just a concept design from a designer. His name is Kyle Tellier. I hope I'm saying that, or Kyle Tellier. I don't know. But basically, so this artist and designer did like a whole big concept package for Las Vegas Athletics, including like these two dice that you can kind of see near the A. But then, he did like hats. He did jerseys, secondary logos. He mocked up retro jerseys. He did a whole bunch of stuff. He basically just did like a whole branding kit for free for the Las Vegas A's, and it looks like this Las Vegas A is from him. So, but it turns out that they didn't even clear it. Like the people putting on the show didn't even clear it with the artist, so he's pissed. Last Dive Bar checked in with the guy, and he wasn't happy about it. Afterwards, Mick Akers said, "Oh, it wasn't the A's; it was the production company that put it on, but still, it should have been cleared by somebody, But of course, the A's are just doing that. So, classic part for the course. I don't know. The whole thing just kind of seemed, it wasn't really like glitzy and glamorous like you think in Las Vegas. It kind of seemed dimly lit and dark, and there's a lot of smoke and asbestos in the air that's just going to be floating around. So I don't know. But all right, the Trop is down. So for now, they're going to start clearing the ground, and their goal is to still keep, so hopefully get construction for them by, Q2 next year, by the spring of next year. So, as I record this right now, it's Wednesday, October 9th, and we're still about a week away from the October 17th Las Vegas Stadium Authority meeting that's coming up next week. And, it's been about 3 weeks since the Fed cut a 0.5 point off interest rates, and still haven't heard any rumblings or rumors about the A's finding any investing. And, initially the plan was, actually it still is the plan, is for the A's to present something by October 17th, which is coming up in 8 days. And so, I don't know. I mean, so initially the plan is to have the A's present their development agreement or some draft of it, something meaty by October 7th or 17th, and then they would the Stadium Authority would vote on it potentially by December 5th, and if there's some loose ends, they can wrap it up on December 12th. So there's 3 more Stadium Authority meetings scheduled for this year, but of course they're fighting against a December 15th deadline that was imposed on SB1. But again, and that comes from, the governor signed the bill into law last June 15th. 18 months from then puts it at December 15th. So that should have been a deadline, but, when they met last time in July, Steve Hill said, they might be able to push it back to May. But now, again, they're still saying it's going to be in October we could see something. So, I still think that, honestly, if Steve Hill, like the Stadium Authority, is giving them the green light to push it back till May, but pick up 5 more months, they might as well do it. It makes sense for them to do it, because the Fed is scheduled to cut interest rates again in November and December, and then next year in January and March. So that would be potentially 4 more cuts that the A's could benefit from, because there's so much borrowed money involved. And, after, 30 years or however long these loans are, all that interest really accrues. So they're going to try to get that interest rate as low as possible. So that's probably a big reason why they've been waiting so far. And also because nobody's jumped on board. A few months ago they hired a firm to help them try to attract $500 million in outside investors, but they still haven't. So, afterwards, Akers spoke to the bigwigs at the implosion, and Soo Kim, the Bally CEO, told him construction is going to start in spring and baseball is going to be played in the spring of 28. And that is true, but he didn't say where or who. I mean, the construction is going to start somewhere, and there will be baseball played in the spring of 28. But will it be in Vegas? And I don't know, I'm just kind of messing around. But he also said, Kim also said it was interesting that Bally's are starting, they're planning to build a 3,000 room hotel, but I thought this quote at the end was interesting when he said, "We're not a huge company, so we're going to have to go slowly. So at this point, we're trying to break down those plans into bite-sized phases." So it's not exactly a full speed ahead. We're going to put this beautiful casino, right next door to the A's stadium. Because remember, so GLPI is the landlord of the whole 35-acre parcel that's there, and the A's get 9, and Bally's has the other 26 that they're supposedly going to build a casino resort around. But Doesn't sound like it. It's, full speed ahead on this one. Vital Vegas, Scott Robin, he's been very skeptical throughout this whole process about Bally's. And he remains skeptical, saying that, Kim's claim of 3,000 room hotel probably isn't realistic, given that the old Trop was 1,800. And now the A's are taking 9 acres. That's almost over a quarter, pretty much a quarter of the lot that the A's are taking. And then there's also FAA restrictions that he keeps alluding to, that he keeps mentioning, because the Tropicana lot is so close to the Harry Reid Airport, the Las Vegas airport right next to the Strip, that you might not be able to build super tall, and so I don't know. And Scott is also bearish on Bally's being able to foot the bill for a $2 to $4 billion project, because they just had to sell off basically 3 casinos to make a big one happen in Chicago. They basically renegotiated the deal where they sold their territories to GLPI, and I believe it was like Shreveport. I don't know. There was like 3. There was one in Rhode Island. And there was another. I have to go back and look off the top of my head. I forgot to look, but basically there was 3 casinos that they had to like basically mortgage off. They sold it to GLPI, and then now they're paying rent. So now they're, instead of being the owners of the place, they become the tenants of the place to GLPI, who again is the landlord here. So GLPI kind of bailed them out. But also GLPI became the owner of the land and the casino in Chicago, which is this big $1.8 billion project they're putting up. So Bally's, basically had to go all in to get this Chicago thing done. And now they're going to owe a lot of money on rent, have a lot of interest payments, and stuff like that. And they also had to cancel a project in Pennsylvania. So I believe we're going to hear another Bally's earnings call for Q3, like around Halloween. So maybe we should know more about the physical with an F, state of Bally's, after all these big deals they've done this past year, and they're restructuring and stuff like that. So, as Chicago Bally's Watch noted, things don't exactly look good for them right now. Just, how they've been doing in Chicago right now. They have like a temporary casino, and I guess it kind of peaked in the summer, and then Hard Rock Cafe put one in a Chicago suburb, and now that's kind of cannibalizing Bally's business in Chicago. So they're losing, or their receipts aren't as high as they should be, or as they expected, as they projected. And now Chicago's city budget is kind of getting thrown into the fire, and we'll have something similar for Oakland coming up. I'm going to break that down in detail in a bit. But anyways, so, and Bally's Watch went as far as to say that their annual rent with GLPI for their Chicago deal is going to equal 91% of their revenues at this pace. So, I mean, basically it seems like the A's and Bally's are kind of similar in that they talk a big game, but they haven't really been able to follow. We'll have to see if they follow through on everything, But Fisher sounds confident. He says, "We feel very good about where we're at, and I think things are all moving forward according to plan." And then he also said, "We'll have our financing plan out for everybody to see soon." But as you heard from Steve Hill yesterday, there's a lot of confidence. So hey, Fisher's saying they're going to see the financing plan soon. So yeah, maybe they really will have something in 8 days. We'll see. So again, Sandy Dean, the last we heard is that they said we're in good shape, and that's pretty much all we know. So. And Steve Hill, again, the chairman of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, he's been basically saying the same thing for years, and he's still kind of parroting the same stuff he's been saying this whole time, So there was some interesting stuff that came out on Tuesday, the day before the Trop was dropped. Akers talked to Steve Hill, and he reported that Hill and the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, his name is Ed Finger. So Steve Hill and Ed Finger, I guess they gave an audit or a look at John Fisher and his Fisher family finances. And big surprise, Steve Hill, who's been the biggest cheerleader for this project, obviously, this whole time. That's his job. He's pretty confident in it. This is what he had to say. He said, "It is clear that the Fishers have the ability to provide financing for the stadium, period. They just have it, and it is there. They have expressed their intention to do so, and we're going to have a big party in the early morning to launch that effort." So it's like, yeah, like, dude, we get it. Like, the Fishers are rich. Like, I think last time Forbes had an estimation in 2020, it was worth like $10 billion. His mom, I think, is worth around I don't know, she's worth around $2 billion. Both of his brothers are worth about $2 billion. And then Fisher's worth $3 billion, probably because the A's have, skyrocketed in valuation by $1 billion in the past 20 years. Fisher said he'll have his plan out soon, So it's like, yeah, they do have the money, but are they willing to is he really willing to have the balls to get in there and do it? So we'll have to see. So seems like there's still a lot of loose ends to wrap up in the next 8 days, but considering that we haven't really heard any, rumors about financing. And again, their plan is to use about $350 million from SB1 that's allotted from the public financing there, looking for $850 million in outside investment or equity stakes for people to get in there, or use their own money. And then $300 million in debt financing. So like go to a bank or Goldman Sachs or a big lender and get that money, but haven't heard anything about the lenders or the outside investors yet. So, maybe the whole Fisher family is just going to foot the whole $1.5 billion, perhaps up to $1.8 billion thing, minus maybe the $350 million. So, $1.3, $1.4 billion they're just going to do this. And then we also had some bonus tweets from Vital Vegas, Scott Robin, that were really interesting. First, he reported that the A's were talking to Rio, but then Rio quickly said no, hasn't been anything since that first negotiation a couple years ago. But the A's just stayed at the Rio for a construction conference, so maybe he heard some rumblings about that. Maybe some wires got crossed there or something like that. But he also, for what it's worth, he also heard that the A's have talked to Joe Lacob. So, I don't know if that's, this is like tinfoil hat stuff. It's like maybe Fisher's thinking about selling the team, or maybe he wants to see if Lacob wants to invest in his Vegas franchise. I don't know. But anyways, maybe Lacob is, I don't know, just the whole rumor mill. I don't want to go back into that whole rumor mill space again. So we'll see if anything happens. I'd be completely shocked if Fisher ever sold to Lacob, but supposedly he has an outstanding offer since, forever ago. So, and speaking of Oakland, while the A's, new ballpark saga continues in Sacramento and Vegas, so does the fate of the Oakland Coliseum. And on Monday, Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao announced that the city has amended its purchase-sale agreement with ASCG for half of the Coliseum site. She sent out this tweet, and in her press release, she said it's a win-win for Oakland and ASCG, African American Sports and Entertainment Group, as they have agreed to a $125 million deal. And ASCG, of course, also has another agreement with the A's for $125 million. So it looks like their total bill for this thing, if they're able to go through with everything, will be $250 million for the entire Coliseum site. In the amended PSA, ASCG has agreed to pay $125 million instead of $105 million, which just seems weird. Like, who was like, oh, here's an extra $20 million? Like, that just seems weird. But I guess, according to Bay Area News Group, ASCG is doing it in order to gain quicker access to, like the title of the land, so they can start building and redeveloping quicker. Because originally they were going to get the money by 2026, now they're getting 2025, so I guess they really just want to get it done. And of course Oakland's going to say, oh, you're going to give us another $20 million? Sure, let's do it. So here's a look at the two payment schedules, and I'll keep putting them back up, so if you don't get a good look at them right now, but I'll go back and forth. So on the left we have the new amendments, and on the right we have the old pay schedule. And under the old terms agreed to in late July, ASCG was supposed to pay $5 million up front and $10 million by September 1st. But then last week, 3 council members, Noel Gallo, Janani Ramachandran, and Trevor Reed, they voiced concern that there was no proof of payment by ASCG. So remember, the sale is basically like a life raft for the city of Oakland. They need this stuff they need this deal for ASCG to just the way their budget was done, to basically stay afloat next year and not have drastic cuts. So, so now that they haven't, so they didn't receive the $50 million by September 1st, but now that's been kind of reworked, and Oakland should be getting the money by November 7th, but there are some interesting caveats that I'll talk about. So anyways, about that $15 million, KTVU, that was originally due in the original agreement, KTVU reached out to the Oakland Mayor's Office Chief of Communications, Casey Pratt, the old media, old A's guy, old friend, Casey Pratt. He said, I guess he told KTVU that AESEG had paid $10 million by that September 1st deadline, but of course they were $5 million short. So now it looks like they've only paid $5 million, and then the other 10 is due in about a month. So this deal was supposed to bring like $63 million in this fiscal year, to kind of basically be a Band-Aid and save Oakland from, having some major drastic cuts. But, since they didn't hit the September deadline, I think we still have some cuts that are going on right now, even though since October 1st, so the past 8 or 9 days, but those exactly haven't been specified yet. So all of this has kind of created a division within the Oakland City Council. So Gallo, Ramachandran, and Reed, the ones who initially, raised concerns about the $15 million, they actually called an emergency meeting on Monday after Tao's announcement. But 3 other council members, Nikki Fortunato-Boss, Carol Fife, and Rebecca Kaplan, did not show up. So they couldn't take any quorum or take any action about the amendment or do anything on it. They could basically discuss it and have that for the public record, but they couldn't really do anything on it. So it was like, it's like, this is what they got now, I guess, I don't know, politics, not a huge fan. But anyways, on Wednesday, earlier today, Tao tweeted out her version of events saying that Gala, Ramachandran, and Reed all had ample knowledge and detail of the deal and they should have known stuff, So the Coliseum deal is great, and this is what she said. She said, the Coliseum deal is great for Oakland, and it is neither the cause nor full solution to the city's budget deficit. Nonetheless, I expect it to help save us from the most drastic public safety cuts. So this new deal, notice how she said the most public drastic safety cuts. I think she's acknowledging there are going to be some public safety cuts. We just don't know what they are yet. So if this whole thing falls through, I think there would be a 10% reduction in police force. I think they would have to, lay off about 70 officers out of the 680 that they have. I think it was 68 out of 680, something like that, around 70. So about 10% of the police force, along with other hiring freezes in other departments and other cuts, including the fire department. So, public services. So basically, Oakland is throwing all of its eggs in this basket with AESEG, who is backed by a Chicago-based investment firm called Loop Capital. So they're the ones really putting down the money for this. So, back to the old terms and new terms. So under the terms of the old agreement, they should have had $15 million now and $30 million by November 1st. But under the terms of the new agreement, I believe they only have $5 million unless they kept the whole $10 million, like Casey Pratt said, that they deposited. But I believe they only have $5 million now, and then they're going to get another $10 million by November 7th. So I guess it's been in escrow for the past couple days, but it's not officially been transferred hands yet. So, and then the huge $95 million payment is expected to be finalized by May 30th, 2025. And that will bring the total payments from AESEG to Oakland to $110 million this fiscal year, which obviously is much bigger than the $63 million they were initially expected. And Oakland gets the money faster if this deal gets done. AESEG gets to develop faster, or at least be in a position to, if they get this deal done. So, and under the old agreement, they were supposed to finish the $105 million payments by June 2026. So basically, they get the money a year earlier. And under the new agreement, there's also another $15 million on top of that $110 million of investment. But that'll be kind of deferred payments way, way down the road. It's something about, like, if they develop, 25% of the lot, they'll get $5 million. If they develop 50% of the lot, they get another $5 million. Develop 75% of the lot, they're going to get another $5 million. So that $15 million is really deferred money. I would really kind of think of it, I would really kind of frame it as a $110 million deal with $15 million in deferred payments. But hey, 125 sounds better than 110, doesn't it? So basically, it seems like AESEG paid $5 million to accelerate this deal. So I guess they really have confidence that they're really going to get it done. So even though they couldn't get the $15 million in on time, I guess they have confidence they'll get the $110 million in on time. So, and there's also another interesting wrinkle in the amendment, as AESEG can terminate the deal on November 6th. by the end of day. And Oakland would keep $5 million that's been paid out, but AESEG would get the $10 million back that's currently in escrow. So here's like the interesting part, because November 6th is an interesting date because Election Day is November 5th. So I get more cynical as I get older and like learn a little bit more about politics. I don't know much, but the more I know, the more cynical I get. But basically, this is framed where they could keep this structure of this deal and this saving face for Tao as she faces a recall election on November 5th. But they could literally cancel it the next day, and AESEG would get a slap on the wrist of $5 million losing. Which is still $5 billion, but if they're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and then you would also have to think that maybe their A's deal would be thrown into jeopardy. But AESEG's made a lot of bold claims about how this $250 million investment could lead to a $5 billion development for East Oakland. And I really hope it happens just for the city and for the region. And I really, really hope so. But I have to say I'm a little skeptical right now, especially because they couldn't pay that $50 million up front. And now they need to pay $110 in the next few months, and it's also they're supposed to show proof of that $95 million by February 3rd. So I mean that's probably the absolute point of no return. If they don't have that money, then I think blank is really hitting the fan by next February. So anyway, just to wrap that stuff up, I mean basically Oakland has really hitched its wagon to the horse of AESEG, and really if AESEG doesn't come through with this, City of Oakland's going to be in a really tough spot. So I hope for everybody's sake that they get this done. All right, and then a couple more things to talk about. I got to talk about Sacramento, of course. And earlier this week, A's outfielder Lawrence Butler appeared on the Chris Rose rotation and had some candid thoughts about having a clubhouse out in center field in Sacramento at Sutter Health Park, of course the AAA ballpark of the River Cats. And, I remember it was just a couple months ago, I think in July, when a reporter informed Butler earlier this season that he would be playing on turf. He didn't even know until the reporter told him.
All right, so we're putting Oakland to bed, unfortunately, and it stinks. Now you got to play in Sacramento next year. Like, what has the team told you, if anything?
What I know as of right now is that they're making renovations to like the field and stuff like that. Like I know our locker room's going to be in center field. They're turfing the whole outfield. So the whole outfield will be turf now. And yeah, that's pretty much all I know. That's pretty much what they've told me. And that's pretty much all I know.
So you have to walk from your clubhouse behind the center field wall to the dugout. So it's like spring training?
Basically, like we're coming in from the outfield, and it's probably gonna suck because I've never been there and I don't know where the batting cages are. So like if you have to pinch hit, I don't know if you're gonna have to walk somewhere. You just got to come off the bench cold. Yeah, so it's a sticky situation, man. I've never been there, so I don't really know too much of what it looks like, but that's just what I've heard.
So it appears that the A's clubhouse is going to be out in center field, and I believe the visiting clubhouse is going to be out in left field. They took out a little terrace, and they're expanding the wall. Of course, Susan Slusser had that great anecdote how a River Cats player was working out in a room and a drill bit came through the wall because they're building an extension for the visiting clubhouse. And it's just embarrassing. Like he said, the big headline everybody's going to say is like, oh, this is going to suck. So it might suck, it might be terrible. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're going to have a batting cage closer to the field or something. But it sounds like they're going to have to be making awkward walks out to center field like all the time. So it's embarrassing that MLB allowed this to happen, especially with Vegas not even signed, sealed, and delivered. It's like, damn, they just really want to get out of Oakland. So. And what's crazy, though, is the secondary market for tickets. If you look at opening day on StubHub, it's basically going to cost you at least $1,000 to get in, which is ridiculous. So I wonder if the A's are going to use dynamic pricing again next year and see how crazy those prices are. So, I think Sacramento games will be many things. They could be fun. I think that really intimate atmosphere, if you can afford it, it's going to be hot. It's probably going to be intimate, but it's not going to be cheap. That's for sure. So. And I won't be surprised if just a bunch of rich folks are just snatching up the tickets now just to sell them. But it for sure won't be a legit baseball crowd like the one you just left in Oakland. All right, and to wrap it up, I'm just going to do a big breakdown of John Fisher's letter. It's been a while since they did one of these Ricky reports, but just for context, if you don't remember, John Fisher issued this long letter statement to fans On Monday, off day, it was a September 23rd, right before they hosted the Texas Rangers for their final 3 games in Oakland. And, you know, I made a video on YouTube and I interviewed over 30 people about it like the day after it happened. And they had some really passionate reactions to it, so go check it out. Now I hope you're prepared for some snark. Going to be real snarky here. I'm going to go paragraph by paragraph. I'll put up, this is the full statement right here if you want to pause and read it. It's kind of hard to read. It's kind of small. There's a lot of stuff. But and then I'm going to go paragraph by paragraph and see what he said and tell you about all the lies. John Fisher's letter full of lies. So, first of all, he started off by saying, to our Oakland Athletics fans. All right, that's false. First of all, there are no more. Oh, no. I'm just kidding. All right. So, and then he said, this upcoming series with the Texas Rangers will be the final games of the A's storied 57 years in Oakland. And while the A's previously played in Philadelphia and Kansas City, Oakland has been home to the greatest era in the franchise's more than 123-year history. So, yes, that's true. It will be the final game. But I also think they mentioned in Philly and Kansas City up there early as to say, hey, guys, it's not the first time we've done it. You know, just give themselves a little breathing room up top, you know. And, yeah, Philly was pretty good, too. They won 5 titles there. But I'll take the Oakland was the best in the franchise. I'll take that. And then he said 4 World Series championships, 6 pennants, 17 division titles, 7 Baseball Hall of Famers, Charlie Finley and his mule, Billy Ball, Reggie and his incomparable swagger, Raleigh and his handlebar mustache, Dave and Stewart and the stare, Bill King's Holy Toledo, Ricky the greatest leadoff hitter in baseball history. The list goes on and on. Yes, that's true. Why are you leaving then, bro? And then he goes on to say triumphs, near misses. Then he goes on to say triumphs, near misses. The 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake in Game 3 of the Bay Bridge Series. The 20-game win streak. A Hollywood movie. And an unmatched cast of players, coaches, and fans. We've had it all. Of course, the biggest thing that came out here is when this letter initially came out, he misspelled Loma Prieta, or his team misspelled Loma Prieta, put the E before the I. It's always I before E, except after C, bro. Loma Prieta, no es Loma Prieta. But anyways, now it's been corrected on MLB.com, but people don't forget. And then he said, and that I know is what makes our departure so very hard. Dude does not give a fuck. And then he said, the A's are the part of the fabric of Oakland, the East Bay, and the entire Bay Area. When Lou Wolf and I bought the team in 2005, our dream was to win world championships and build a new ballpark in Oakland. Over the next 18 years, we did our very best to make it happen. We proposed and pursued 5 different locations in the Bay Area. And despite mutual and ongoing efforts to get a deal done for the Howard Terminal project, we came up short. So, yeah, they did buy the team in 2005, but guess what happened in 2006? Lou Wolf's son was having a press conference in Fremont, California to try to build a new stadium. So, that was Cisco Field. Sure, we all remember those renderings, that press conference. Ghost ride the Volvo, good times. And then, then they went to San Jose after that. They failed there. I believe they had a couple sites in San Jose. And then after that, I think they really only turned their attention to Oakland in maybe like 2017. It was kind of like quiet there from like 2011, 2012 up to like 16, 17 or something like that. But then around that time, since then they've had 3 failed attempts in Oakland, of course. They had the Peralta Stadium deal that was dead on arrival because the community college said, no, you can't build here. Maybe you should have checked that before making all those fancy YouTube videos. Then, of course, Howard Terminal. They got cold feet, it seems like, with Oakland at the end. And then they owned the Coliseum side, half of it for 4 years, and they couldn't do anything with it. So, people like to blame Oakland government. I don't know if it's just because it's election season and people want to pile on Oakland or whatever, but what about Fremont officials? What about San Jose officials? The only common denominator here has been John Fisher. So, he just can't decide what he wants. And I told my friend about this in Mexico. He said they have an expression for this down here. He said when a guy's like chasing 2 different girls, they say they have something to say. They call him a perro entre dos tortas. It's like a dog in between two sandwiches. It's like, which one do I want? And basically that's what Fisher's been doing for 20 years. Parallel paths with Oakland and Vegas. Now, who knows? Maybe it's going to be Sacramento and Vegas. Okay, and then after that he said, only in 2021, after 16 years of working exclusively on developing a home in the Bay Area and faced with a binding MLB agreement to find a new home in 2024, did we begin to explore taking the team to Las Vegas. So this is complete BS. The only thing that's binding about that agreement was John Fisher's attachment to free money. That's what's binding here. So basically, if he didn't have a deal like SB1 in place by January 2024, he would have been cut off from 100% of revenue share, or he would have been cut off from revenue sharing this year. So they got it done by June 2023, so he kept getting revenue sharing this year, their final year in Oakland. I mean, that's really all the thing he cares about is revenue sharing and getting that TV contract. But as Evan Drellich of The Athletic noted, it was the owners and Commissioner Rob Manfred who probably pushed for that provision, giving Fisher something to point at. Now we can say, oh, well, I had to, because otherwise I would have lost revenue sharing, which is ridiculous. But Drellich also highlighted that the A's, they've been getting special treatment since 2022. They're in such a big market, the Bay Area market, they shouldn't be getting revenue sharing, but they kind of, there was a provision put in for them over the past 3 or 4 years to get a piece of the pie, even though they're in a big market. So it's ridiculous. Fisher's getting handouts from that, getting the relocation fee waived. I don't understand how LMB owners are doing this out of anything but self-interest in the worry that, they can't do it in the future, like the White Sox going to Nashville, stuff like that. So anyways, just ridiculous stuff. Fisher's pathetic. I mean, just getting all this free money, still can't get stuff done. And then after that, he said, there are millions of dedicated and passionate A's fans in Oakland and around the world. Countless dedicated staff members and Oakland Coliseum employees have poured their hearts into this team, and their efforts have meant so much to our community. I know there is great disappointment, even bitterness. Though I wish I could speak to each one of you individually, I can tell you this from my heart, we tried. Staying in Oakland was our goal, it was our mission, and we failed to achieve it. And for that, I am genuinely sorry. So first of all, they don't care about their employees. As ABC7 reported, their Aramark, who's their concession workers, they're not giving their employees any severance, any health insurance after the fact. They're just getting thrown out into the wind. And if you remember, when this all came out, they told the Chronicle that employees would get severance. So I don't know if that's just team employees. I believe there was 150 team employees and 400 concession workers or something like that. But ABC7 interviewed Kenyatta Gentry, who had been working here for 24 years, and this is what she had to say.
For the past 24 years, she's worked for Aramark, the company that runs the shops and concession stands at the Coliseum for home games. After all those years of service, Gentry says she was shocked to find out Monday that Aramark will not be offering any severance to their employees following the A's last game on Thursday. In addition, Gentry says she and her coworkers will also lose their health insurance.
I'm very mad, more pissed that they wouldn't give us anything, especially for us working here for so long, sweat, tears.
So it's just awful stuff, and the A's are laying off all these people, and then when they get up to Sacramento, they're just going to rely on basically free labor from the River Cats and Kings, as Vivek is going to make his people work double time. I mean, it's just ridiculous how cheap John Fisher is. And then the line where he said, "I wish I could speak to each one of you individually." I mean, I just think they think that A's fans are stupid or something. Like, dude, obviously not, dude. You had 20 years, you never did a press conference, you never talked to anybody, you never did anything. So. And that was the biggest sentiment I got from a lot of people when I interviewed them. Was like, dude, he could have talked to us this whole time and never said anything. He's a coward. He's just doing this statement. So, absolute coward. I mean, he had 20 years. He waited till he had 3 days to go. 72 hours till his departure. And he's like, oh, here's a letter. Like, dude, save it. So I think they think we're stupid. It's ridiculous. So then he wrapped it up by saying, looking ahead, I hope you will join our beloved A's as we move forward on this amazing journey. I hope I will see you again in sporting the green and gold, and I hope we will make you proud. So, he alienated a passionate and loyal fan base over the years with teardowns, never offered a contract bigger than $36 million, didn't make anybody proud. I mean, dude, and they literally hired snipers for the final game, dude. He did not make people proud. What did you think was going to happen at that final game, dude? Couldn't even print out replica Coliseums for everybody, but there's a sniper on the roof. So then he signed to John Fisher, but everybody knows that was ChatGPT. That's the only explanation. But basically, this letter got roasted by everybody, including Trevor May, Josh Reddick, Larry Beal of ABC7 went on an epic rant. But, the only thing that matters is that Fisher and Manfred want to go to Vegas, and the other owners just want this to get over with. So, it sucks, but anyways, thanks for listening to my Ricky report from Mexico. Use the code RickyBlog at Last Dive for 10% off your next order. All right, guys, see you soon. Bienvenido y adios.